Shavua Tov. B'ezrat Hashem says the Ben Ish Hai that it says you make yourself tzitzit on kafei v'gdehem. It'll be tzitzit or item oto uzchatem. It's also right. Lo tatur lechem chayanechem. Don't go. You make the tzitzit. You'll see them. You'll remember all the mitzvot. You'll not go after your heart, and you'll not go after your eyes, after which you stray. So the Ben Ish Hai says that besides for the mitzvah tzitzit, obviously there's a hint to here that you have to look. The main thing to avert from doing averot is to look, is to guard your eyes. He says the person has to know that the garment is a lot of people wear, and the eyes is what also attracts us to the Yetzer Hara. So therefore, these two things together, we have to be careful. So therefore, even though in this world, you might wear expensive layers of clothing and change them every day, a person has to look to the tzitzit, which will remind them that in the grave, we all wear the same thing. At the end of the day, we're not going to take any of this with us. In the grave, we all wear the same garments. And really, the Gemara says, the Gamliel, he used to see how, and when people used to pass away, they used to bury them with gold and silver and very expensive items. And he said, that's not right. You're causing the expenses of the funeral to be very costly. So he said, he instituted that you should bury me in regular linens. Don't give me this kavod that they give to everybody else. And from then on, it became that everyone, started going down and burying the same way. And therefore, the person has to constantly remember this, as the Gemara says, that one of the last stops, one of the ways, the tools, the final resorts to use against the Yetzer Hara is to remember the day of death. The Pasuk in Mishlei says, when you sit to battle a ruler, consider well what is before you. So, what does that mean? It says the battle for the evil inclination is control over the person. That's what the fight is. And what? And usually people don't always remember the punishment of Gehenom or the reward of Gan Eden, right? This is how a person is supposed to be. The Yetzer Hara, says the Ben Ish Hai. If a Yetzer Hara comes to you and tells you have arrogance, have gava, so what do you have to say? You have to tell him, well, listen, if I have got a lot of gava, it's going to be very expensive. Why? What's going to happen? Because to have gava, you have to look the part. You have to go and show like this is a great person and very rich person, very substantial person in the community. And he says, if he tells you, make mahloket, right? You go and fight with this person. So you gotta tell Yetzer Hara, listen, it's gonna be very costly, and then I'm gonna have to deal with the repercussions of all those people not supporting me or not helping me. I might need their favor. They're not gonna be my customers anymore, right? Or a person says, the Yetzer Hara tells you to get angry. You gotta tell them, listen, it's not healthy. I'm gonna shave off years from my life if I get angry. I'm gonna lose my hair. I'm gonna be bald, God forbid. I'm gonna, I might run to addictions because of this. So therefore, a person has to just like the Yetzer Hara gives you arguments, you have to use arguments back. He says a mashal. He says there was a sorcerer who worked for the king. And the king said to this sorcerer, to the guy who sees the astrology, he says, I want you to tell me, you're very good friend. And they always used to tell him the future. He always used to look at the stars for him. So one day the king suddenly was very upset at the sorcerer, and he turned his back on him, and he decided to tell the sorcerer, that's it. I'm gonna kill you. I don't hold of you anymore, and I don't like you anymore. I'm decided to have you killed. So then the king one day before he killed him, he brought him in and he said, look into the stars, and tell me the day you will die. He was telling the sorcerer. The king told the sorcerer, tell me the day you're going to die, Mr. Sorcerer. So the sorcerer was very scared, and he understood that the king wanted to kill him. So he pretended to look in the stars. He pretended to look in the stars, and he said, the stars show I'm in very grave danger. I'm about to pass away. He says, do they show you exactly the day you die? He says, I can't tell the day I die, but I could tell that I'm very connected to the king. The day that I die is the day the king's going to die. So therefore, from that moment on, the king didn't kill him. From that day on, he kept to make sure to give him the best doctors, to keep him alive as much as he can. And what? Says the Ben Ish Hai, that's what we have to do. We have to use, when the Yetzer Hara comes to us, we have to give him a claim and an argument that he himself is worried for, right? He himself is worried for, and what he will not be able to answer up. So therefore, like we said before, if you have gava, it's going to be very costly, and the Yetzer Hara is not going to give into that. It's going to give into that. So therefore, a person has to know how to argue. It says in the Torah, Pashat Chukat, it says the para aduma, right? He should be burnt before his eyes, its skin, flesh, and blood, with its dung, it shall be burned. So we have to do para adoma, the ashes, Bezrat Hashem, in order to be able to become pure, go to the Beit HaMikdash. The Arizal writes that he doesn't, I'm sorry, the Maran Haida writes, he doesn't understand how the Arizal was able to understand so much and teach so much in such a quick time. The Rav Chaim Vital, he says for sure, must be that the Arizal found Afer Para Adoma, and he sprinkled on himself, and he was able to be so pure to be able to get so much of a revelation. But anyways, he says, the Ben Ish Chai says, the Para Adoma is hints at a person's physical nature. That what? That's para is from Lashon Pareh Veraveh. It's Lashon of fruitful, being multiplying. He says the man's nature, right? You have 100, you want 200. You have 200, you want 400. The man's nature is Pareh Veraveh. The Yetzer Hara is fruitful, multiplies. It grows and grows and grows. And therefore, that's why the sages say, if you satiate, talking about the breed, right? If you satiate, if you feed the breed, so it becomes more hungry. And if you starve it a little bit, then it learns to be happy with what it has, and it's full. Right, but if you feed it, you see it wants more and more and more and more. So therefore, this is a lesson for all of our desires. The more you think that if you feed your desires, right? If you would think, imagine like we feed ourselves, right? The next day, you got to eat the same way you ate yesterday, and the next day you eat a little bit more, and then now you have to eat the next time a little bit more, to the point where 3-4 courses are not enough for you. You need 12 courses, 15 courses, and you're still hungry. And you say, well, what did we eat already? This is nothing on the table. What did you put, right? So that's the way the desires, and it all starts with the eyes. There's the King Alexander Makedonsky, right? Alexander the Great, he found the eye bone. Whatever he put on the scale, it was always heavier than the other side, because with the eyes, they never get full. And what do you have to do? That's why the pasuk says, the para adoma, this Yetzer Hara, that's pareh veraveh, that's fruitful, you have to burn it before your eyes. Why do you mean burn it before your eyes, the pasuk says? Why you have to burn it in front of your eyes? To hint to you that this Yetzer Hara, especially with the eyes, you have to burn it. You don't think if you feed it, it'll be happy. No, burn it, get rid of it. You feed it very little, and that's how you're going to be satiated, because otherwise, it's going to be growing and growing. And then the pasuk says that skin, flesh, and blood should be burned. The skin, flesh, and blood represents different types of parts of our body. The deed, the action, maaseh, speech is our words and our thoughts. So therefore, all those things, we have to be careful to not let our Yetzer Hara seep into our speech, seep into our act, and seep into our thought. And finally, he says, right, it quotes the pasuk, it says, the pasuk in Vayikra, it says he shall remove its mura with the notzah and cast it aside, the altar kedma, in the place of the dishin. Right? The kohanim, they used to take the birds. They used to have a long fingernail, do milika. They would cut the back of the neck, and then they would have to remove the crop. The crop is this organ inside the bird that they would use to keep stones in, and they would grind their food with. You have to remove the crop and the feathers, and then they have to throw it with its blood near the altar. So he says, what is this hinting? He says, this is our outlook in life. He says, worldly pleasures can make us fall into evil, chas v'shalom. Take only the minimum that you need. First of all, it says, what did Hava see? She saw the tree, that it was good. And then the Nahash started telling her, you should take from the tree, right? So therefore, to fight this temptation, we have to realize that you have to remove its mareh, remove the crop. Mareh is the appearance. The person has to realize that, for example, the Gemara says that a person can have desire for a forbidden woman. At the end of the day, you have to remember that the Gemara says that a woman is filled with blood and it's a disgusting thing. Why would the Gemara say that about a woman? Because sometimes to fight Yetzer Hara, you have to look at things in a disgusting way and say what is that? It doesn't speak to me. So a person has to learn to take forbidden things and make it in his mind that it should be disgusting to him, and then only then it will not speak to him, because otherwise it's very hard to convince yourself not to eat the candy, not to eat the very appealing thing. And he says, but if it still gets hold of you, you have to throw it by the altar kedma. What's the altar kedma? The kedma is the Torah, because it's kadma creation. So therefore, a person has to go to the Bet Midrash. The Gemara says, if the Yetzer Hara attacks you, what should you do? Mashcheu the Bet Midrash. And then what happens? You'll go to the place of Deshin. Deshin is the Shanim and Anim Yehu, the richness and the full, and the meadow of the richness and the full I shall live. So therefore, it says, once you do this, you're able to make Olam Hazeh in certain times look disgusting to you. Obviously, we need Olam Hazeh. Obviously, we have to be normal, healthy people. But at the same time, the overindulgence should be disgusting to us. Once we do that, we'll be able to get to the level of richness and Gan Eden, and B'ezrat Hashem will be able to do the mitzvot and push away the desires. But It's all about knowing to when to close your eyes. Some people, they have, it's called jadne glaza. It means that their eyes, they're never full. They're not happy with that. They're always looking to somebody else. Always looking what they have. And comparison is the ultimate killer of happiness.